So now, according to Reverend Lee, fasten your seatbelt. Folks, you're in for a dynamic ride this morning. Spirit expressing itself through Reverend Ray, outdoes itself. Thank you, Reverend Ray, for your willingness to trade pulpits in support of United CSL Spiritual Families. Thank you for being my friend. Spirit, as you, is a mighty blessing. So, we all know him, and I didn't read his long resume because his sermons and his messages speaks for itself. So please join in a warm Laurel welcome for Dr. Ray.
So, first of all, it's great to be back. Thank you very much for having me back. I thought the last time I was here, y'all grew tired of me, and my therapist has been working with me. So no, seriously, it's good to be back. So, how's everybody today?
Great.
Okay, I better leave the front of the room. I'm not sure about the back, the middle of the back, so you might want to, so let's try this again. How are you today?
Great.
You believe that, Mashinda?
Yeah.
Okay, she believes it, I believe it.
Yes, you do.
So today we're talking about something that's sort of a touchy subject, sort of kind of, only because. So does anyone know what today's talk title is?
Yes.
Well, that's the theme, but I gave a different title. Do we know what my title is? Yes. The art of self-defense. But it's not that kind of self-defense. Not that kind of self-defense. And I could have very easily called it the art of the Samaritan. Right? Just because, so there's an ancient African proverb that says, if there is no enemy within, then the enemy outside can do you no harm. Now, is it or is it not easy, however, to look around in our world today and find an enemy? I mean, if you really think about it. And so the etymology of the word enemy is a foe or someone who has hostility, a demon, the devil. Like, these are part of the etymology of enemy. So, let's think about this then. If there is no enemy within, then the enemy outside can do me no harm. If there is no animosity within, then animosity on the outside cannot do me any harm. If there is no hostility within, then hostility on the outside can do me no harm. If there is no demon or devil within, and what we know from metaphysical stuff is the devil, Satan, whatever, it's metaphysically, it's the liar. Even in my former Christian days, the devil was called the father of all lies. Satan was the father of all lies. So we already know, even there, that idea, metaphysically, is that which lies to us. Now, how many times on any given day do we hear that little voice inside of us telling us any number of lies, and we buy into them and believe them? Even the lie, I'll ask you, I won't even give you any of mine. You tell me some of the lies. It doesn't have to be personal or anything but what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But share with me, what are some of the things that you know that voice says to yourself or to another that we accept and believe? I am so... See, y'all playing shy now. Because everybody in this room knows that there is some voice that says something negative. Something that is not life-affirming, something that is not joy-affirming, something that is not love-affirming, and we hear it, we accept it, and then we feel it. And then we act based upon what we feel. Because that's sort of like the calculus of it. It starts off as a thought. And if it's a thought that we believe, and I use this example all the time, so Diletta, can I pick on you for a second? Okay, so suppose Diletta's starting this new class and I walk in the first day and I'm a new student. And I say, hey, you're a teacher? Cool. You're the tallest flamingo I've ever seen in my life. So you laugh. Why did you laugh? Because it's ludicrous. And I'm not talking about the rapper. It's ludicrous. It makes no sense. Right? But if I come in and I say, oh, I didn't know the instructor was a Negro. I say, ooh, there's something that might be, well, what do you mean by that?
What just happened?
But when it's something that there's something in our consciousness that may resonate with. So someone says, oh, you're black. Someone there is like, well, what is that a problem? Because we know historically there are things that we carry. So when someone brings us something that we have a file, oh, hold on a second. A, B, C, oh, it's this one. And there's the file for it. Now what? And there's a match. There's a resonance. And if there's a resonance, then we feel something about it. And if there's a feeling based upon it, then our actions are going to be based upon what we feel. And so now we have co-created. We have brought that very thing into manifestation. In essence, we treated and moved our feet. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Ooh. So are we really taking care of being mindful of what we're praying about, praying for, praying with? Because see, the idea is, we say it all the time, and I've been using this Ernest Holmes quote for a long time because I want to really, first of all, I'm preaching to me right now. I want to get this quote in my system so strongly that nothing can disturb my peace of mind. Ernest Holmes says in The Healing Anatomy of Prayer, God in me, as me, is me. God in me, as me, is me. There is no separation between that which God is and what we are. There is none. And there are times when we'll say things, or we'll hear a song, or a reading, or something where we still anthropomorphize God. And on one level, it's okay. It's okay. For linguistic convenience, it's okay. But if we are believing that God is in us, period. Okay, so then if God is in me, then there has to be a me and a God to be in me. That's duality then. That's two separate. There's me, the hamburger bun, and there's God, the vegan burger. And the vegan burger goes in the hamburger bun. But the vegan burger can come out of the hamburger bun, and then there's just me, a dry old bun. Right? We have this idea that they are separate, and there is no separation. So see, ideally, getting grounded to this idea that God is all there is, it starts to force us to change how we then see everything. Tracy and I recently watched about 15 minutes of, because both of us got angry, on Netflix. You ever heard of Netflix? Okay, just make sure, because talk to some people don't know what Netflix is. So, Netflix, there is a show now, it's a 4-part series, mini-series, about the Central Park 5. And Tracy and I watched about 15 minutes of episode 1. When the police are interrogating these young men. 15 minutes was as far as we got before both of us were like, ooh, ooh, We was, oh, in the name of what? Like we were mad. So I cut it off. I was like, I can't watch this anymore. Off. But we see that every day, either on the internet or on the news or somewhere, we see people demonstrating their godly power to take others' lives, to hurt others, to abuse others. But there's only God. So how am I supposed to look at the shooter? the racist, the sexist, the homophobe, the transphobe, the Islamophobe? How am I supposed to look at them being able to see with the eyes of God and to the eyes of God, from the heart and soul of God to the heart and soul of God? How am I to, if there is no enemy within and the enemy outside can do you no harm? Maybe it starts with us no longer using the word enemy. Maybe that's what it starts with. Maybe it starts with us completely changing our human lexicon so that we are no longer speaking about the thing we want to change. I say this all the time, so my mother, how many of you have heard me talk about my mother recently? And in terms of the health thing that she is right now experiencing or challenged with. Right now, my mother is experiencing this thing called Alzheimer's. Now, how often do we say they are experiencing it? I'm experiencing a cold. You know, it's that time of year when my body experiences allergies. Is that what we normally say? Or do we normally say, it's allergy season, I got an allergy, oh man, my allergies are bothering me. We take over my allergies. They're mine. It's mine. You have your own allergies. Why do we do that? We don't want it. I don't know anyone that says, Miss Cinda, look, it's my birthday. Look what I got. I got an allergy. Ah! I've been wanting one of these for the longest time. Why do we take ownership of and lay claim of these things we say we don't want? We don't want it to affect us. We don't want it to burden us. We don't want it to separate us from the idea of love. What do we hear in the reading? This idea of telling someone to their face, I love you, is a challenge. You know, there's this thing called the golden rule. You ever heard of it? What's the golden rule say? But what if you don't love yourself enough to know what should be or could be done unto you? What if you treat yourself so badly that what you expect someone to do unto you is to treat you badly? Because your own thoughts, rewind, go back to where I started at the beginning. Remember that little voice that I said with the negative self-talk? That's an abuser. It's an abuser. And it's no different than if someone walked in, sat down beside you, turned to you and started criticizing. Why did you do that with your hair? That is just... It's all right. I mean, I don't like it. I think it's ugly, but maybe somebody will like it. That's negative self-talk. You know, I really shouldn't eat this donut. I've already gained an extra 5 pounds, but and then we go through guilt and shame and blame, and we go through all of these things. Why? Why do we take on so much added nothingness? Because we've been conditioned. Don Miguel Ruiz refers to it as domestication. We've been domesticated to believe and buy into the lies. So if we are going to make this a world that works for the highest and best of all, we're going to make this world heaven on earth, whatever it is that we're saying, whatever the bumper sticker is, because right now that's what it is. It's a bumper sticker. Because there are so many of us who, we say the words. For thus thou knowest that there is only... Yeah, we say the words like a great Shakespearean play, but we are not living the words. We're not embodying the words. There's a... So I subscribe to this thing called Buddha Dharma, the Practitioner's Quarterly, right? And this particular episode... There's an article in here that talks about anger. And I just want to share just a smidge with you. It's like a Rubik's Cube. It says, if we examine how anger or hateful thoughts arise in us, we will find that generally speaking, they arise when we feel hurt. Generally, when we are angry and feeling hurt. So hurt expresses as, and think about it. How many times have you heard about, so there's the cat in the corner and someone will say, don't walk up on the cat, because if you scare it, see, in the beginning, the cat runs. The rabbit runs. The mouse runs. But if it can't get away and you keep going toward it, what does it do? It attacks out of fear. First the fear said, run. Well, first the fear said, don't move, I'm invisible, it won't see me. Well, it saw me anyway, run. I can't run anymore. And I gotta bare the claws. And we already do that. Someone cuts us off in traffic. Bare the claws.
Yep.
We're in the grocery store and someone clips us at the back of the heel. And we don't say it so nicely. Please control your cart. You struck me in the back of my heel. And it hurts very much. Thank you. Have a great day. We're not that kind. And we don't have to say anything, because we already know. Just the look. If looks could kill. How many times have we heard or said that? If looks could kill. How many people would we have killed already to date? Just from the look. And what did I say? Thought, accepted, becomes feeling, and becomes action. A look is an action. So it doesn't have to be bearing claws. Just a look of animosity. How many times has a parent or a teacher given the look of disapproval? And it was far worse than being grounded. Just knowing from that look. It's like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. I would rather you have grounded me and taken away my Xbox and Atari and Nintendo and everything else. But that look of. But how often do we give ourselves that look? How often do we look in the mirror and really look in the mirror and see the face of God? Or how often do we look in the mirror and we see this face that is growing older, that is getting gray, that is getting heavier, that is getting darker, that is getting more freckles, that is getting something that we criticize? Because we don't see ourselves as beautiful. When we understand that God itself, God isn't beautiful, God is beauty itself, expressing in, through, and as every one of us. Therefore, how could we be anything other than beautiful, full of beauty? It's what we are. There is no part of us that is not God. Every part of us, the flesh, the bones, the thoughts, the words, the actions, it's all God moving itself. God has incarnated itself as us. We are holy and divine beings who use our power to damn ourselves. Both D-A-M-N and D-A-M. We block the very energy of creation from flowing freely because we're building walls in our own consciousness to keep us from that part of us that says, but you're beautiful, but you're good, but you're holy, and you're amazing, and you're talented, and you are the universe expressing in human form. But it's easier to take the road most traveled. It's easier, Tracy and I, every time we go to New York. Anybody in here ever been to New York? Been to Times Square? Have you ever been to Sheeple, where you're standing there waiting for the light to change and you see other people go and you're like, oh, clearly the light must be green. Till you step out and like, oh, it's not green. Then why did I move? I moved because I was moving with the flow of everyone else. Mass consciousness said, let's go. And I said, okay. And I stepped out into traffic knowing that I could be hit. And so my choice is either, because if you're going to hit me, you're going to hit all 100 of us, and I run up to be in the middle of them, or I pull my foot back and say, whew, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. But how often do we go down the road of mass consciousness? Don't think so highly of yourself. How dare you say that you are the cat's meow? It's actually blasphemy to not. It's actually blasphemy to play small. Why does Marianne Williamson say in our greatest fear or deepest fear, depending on where you hear the quote, that our greatest fear is not that we are insignificant, that we're small, that we're petty. Our greatest fear is actually how glorious we are. We are terrified of shining so brightly. You know, when I said the art of self-defense, the reason I called it that is because empowerment is this idea of standing in and as that power that you are. There's only one power and only one presence. As they say in unity, God the good, omnipotent. It's all there is. And so when we are empowered, we are in our power. Okay, got that? The art of self-defense is the art of being so strongly what yourself is that that is the only defense you could ever need. Meaning, when you know and know that you know, nothing outside will come towards you. Meaning, I used to teach self-defense classes, like for real self-defense classes to women. And one of the things that I would always reference them is how you hold yourself lets a career criminal know if you are the perfect victim or not. Because they watch. And the woman who holds her bag and keeps her head low and walks like this, perfect. Because one, she didn't see me. And if she did, she surely isn't going to say anything because she's small. But the woman that walks like, I saw you. Like, not her. Because she will say, he was 5'10", 177 pounds, had 16 tattoos, but I was wearing a hazmat suit. I got x-ray vision. Like, that woman is not the one. But how you carry yourself lets the outside force know, But how do we carry ourselves energetically and spiritually? I'm not even talking about an outside, I'm talking about energetically and spiritually. How are we carrying ourselves? How are we walking about the world? This idea for today, empowerment, was also protecting the vulnerable. And the reason I called it the art of the Samaritan as well is because the Good Samaritan story. So we know the Good Samaritan chose to help this individual who was technically not supposed to be. I'm not supposed to, because like you don't like me. I'm not going to help you because I'm not going to get the recognition. I'm not going to help you because in order to help you, I have to be vulnerable. I'm not going to extend myself out any because I might not get back what I want to get back. If I tell someone that I love them to their face, they may not reciprocate. They may not say it back. In Star Wars, there's a scene in The Empire Strikes Back when Princess Leia says to Han Solo, I love you! And he looks at her and says, I know. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. You're supposed to say, they're getting ready to freeze you. You're supposed to say it back. And he didn't. He said, I know. And so what do? We bury the love. Because what if it's not reciprocated? What if I help them and I don't get anything back? But what if we're not helping them because we're not helping ourselves? What if we're not being a good Samaritan to another because we're not being good Samaritans to ourselves? What if that's where the global transformation really starts? What if, because we say this, what if there is enough powerful consciousness in this room right now that we could shift the very tide of the energy on this planet? How many minds are there? There's only one mind. That mind is God's mind. That mind is everywhere present, always. It's before time, it is in time as we experience it, it is timeless, it is forever, and that mind is my mind right now. So if there's only one mind, and that mind is everywhere present right now, it's in, through, and as everywhere, everyone right now. God is a circle whose circumference is nowhere, whose center is everywhere. Then right now we are in the center of Spirit. How could we not change what happens in the center of Spirit if we're already in it? If we drop a thought into the calm flow of, will the ripples not go as far as Russia and China and Korea and Taiwan and the Middle East and Canada and every part of the United States of America? But we think we can't. I can't change it. And so we don't pray about it. Or we pray about it superficially, like it's called prayer yoga. I know that there is only one. I know that we do prayer yoga. But we are not praying in a manner that says, I know and know that I know. We are not showing up as people who know how powerful we truly are. It's easy to take a sign that says Black Lives Matter, Trans Lives Matter. It's easy to go into a prison ministry and sit down with a group of men or women and have conversation about this thing called science of mind and spirit. It's easy to do that. Because that's, to a certain degree, lip service. True self-defense, true stepping into this thing called being a Samaritan, truly living from that place. Anybody in here a Bible scholar? Like in your former life you were a Christian like me? Okay, thank you, Deletta. So in Hebrews it says, and I can't remember the verse, I want to say 13:2, but I could be wrong. Don't tell. Shh. Somewhere in Hebrews it says that we are supposed to show hospitality towards all strangers because we may be entertaining angels and not know that we are. The etymology of the word angel is messenger. Do we not all have a message? Are we not all, therefore, then messengers of love and light and freedom and beauty and grace? And so when I see a stranger and greet them, knowing that which is God in me, sees itself, it recognizes itself in you, and so I must bow to. It bows to itself. When we step into that power, just imagine how life changes. And so it is.
So it is.